What if I told you that one bold move could transform the Montreal Canadiens from playoff hopefuls into legitimate Stanley Cup contenders? The hockey world is buzzing with a trade proposal that has fans and analysts alike questioning whether Kent Hughes has the audacity to pull off what could be the most impactful deal of the season. Picture this scenario: the Canadiens, fresh off their surprising playoff appearance, sitting in their war room with a decision that could define their franchise's trajectory for the next 5 years. On the table lies a trade that would send shockwaves through the NHL landscape and potentially solve Montreal's most glaring weakness in one fell swoop. Let's cut straight to the chase. The Canadiens have a scoring problem, and it's not a small one. Finishing 22nd in league scoring last season isn't exactly the recipe for sustained playoff success. While their defensive structure and goaltending kept them competitive, the harsh reality is that you can't win hockey games without putting the puck in the net consistently. This is where Yegor Sharangovich enters the conversation like a perfectly timed power play opportunity. The Calgary Flames forward represents everything Montreal desperately needs: proven scoring ability, term on his contract, and the versatility to slot into their top 6 forward group seamlessly. But here's where it gets interesting: acquiring him wouldn't come cheap. The proposed trade package reads like a general manager's fever dream or nightmare, depending on which side of the deal you're examining. Montreal would surrender Josh Anderson, promising prospect Owen Beck, and their 2026 first-round pick to Calgary in exchange for Sharangovich's services. It's the kind of all-in move that either propels a franchise toward greatness or haunts front offices for years to come. Sharangovich presents one of the most intriguing cases in today's NHL landscape. Last season's numbers, 17 goals and 15 assists for 32 points in 73 games, tell the story of a player who seemingly regressed from his breakout campaign. However, anyone dismissing him based solely on those figures would be making a critical error in judgment. The previous season painted a dramatically different picture. Sharangovich exploded for 31 goals and 28 assists, totaling 59 points, and establishing himself as a legitimate top 6 threat. That performance wasn't a fluke. It was a glimpse into his true potential when everything clicks into place. The question isn't whether he can produce at that level again, but rather what circumstances prevented him from maintaining that trajectory in Calgary. For Montreal, acquiring Sharangovich represents more than just adding another forward to the roster. They would be betting on their development system's ability to unlock the version of him that terrorized opposing defenses 2 seasons ago. Given their track record with player development and the infectious energy surrounding their young core, it's not an unreasonable gamble to take. The financial commitment tells its own story of belief and investment. Sharangovich's 5-year, $28.75 million contract demonstrates that Calgary viewed him as a cornerstone piece when they signed him. For Montreal to acquire that contract, they're essentially buying into the same vision while hoping their environment can maximize his potential better than his current situation. Every transformative trade requires significant sacrifice, and this proposal would test Kent Hughes' conviction in his team's championship window. Josh Anderson represents the most immediately impactful piece leaving Montreal in this scenario. The 31-year-old power forward has been a steady presence for the Canadiens, providing leadership, physicality, and reliable production when healthy. Anderson's 15 goals and 27 points last season might not jump off the page, but his value extends beyond raw statistics. He brings the kind of playoff experience and veteran presence that young teams desperately need during crucial moments. However, his $5.5 million cap hit for 2 more seasons creates a financial burden that limits Montreal's flexibility in other areas. Owen Beck's inclusion in the package represents a more painful long-term sacrifice. The young center projects as a reliable bottom-6 player with the potential for more, and trading prospects always carries inherent risk. However, Montreal's organizational depth at forward provides some cushion for this type of move, especially when the return addresses such a critical need. The 2026 first-round pick might be the most controversial element of this proposal. Trading future assets always generates debate among fans and analysts, but Montreal's possession of 2 second-round picks in that same draft provides some insurance. The question becomes whether the immediate impact of acquiring Sharangovich outweighs the potential long-term value of that selection. From Calgary's standpoint, this trade represents a classic rebuilding move disguised as competitive maneuvering. The Flames would acquire immediate NHL talent in Anderson while simultaneously adding young assets for their future development. It's the kind of deal that allows them to remain competitive in the short term while building towards sustained success. Beck's inclusion provides Calgary with exactly the type of prospect every rebuilding team covets: young, cost-controlled, and possessing legitimate NHL upside. His development trajectory could significantly impact the Flames' forward depth for years to come, making him potentially the most valuable piece in this entire transaction from their perspective. The first-round pick sweetens the deal considerably for Calgary, providing them with another opportunity to add elite talent to their pipeline. In a league where draft capital has become increasingly valuable, acquiring an additional first-round selection could prove pivotal in their long-term planning. This potential trade exists within the broader context of Montreal's championship aspirations and the realistic timeline for achieving them. Kent Hughes has already demonstrated his willingness to make bold moves, and this proposal would represent the logical next step in their aggressive pursuit of contention. The Canadiens enter this season with plus 105 odds to make the playoffs, reflecting both optimism about their trajectory and acknowledgement of the competitive landscape they face. Adding Sharangovich's scoring punch could be the difference between another early playoff exit and a legitimate run at the Stanley Cup. Hughes himself has been transparent about his approach to team building, emphasizing a need for multiple moves rather than expecting perfection from a single offseason. His recent comments about continuing to pursue improvements suggest that trades like this one align perfectly with his stated philosophy. This proposed trade embodies everything compelling about modern NHL team building: calculated risks, immediate impact versus future potential, and the delicate balance between aggressive pursuit of success and prudent asset management. For Montreal, the decision comes down to a fundamental question. Do they believe their current window justifies this level of investment? The answer likely depends on their internal evaluation of both their existing roster's potential and Sharangovich's ability to recapture his previous form. The beauty of this proposal lies not in its certainty, but in its potential to transform both franchises' trajectories. Montreal could accelerate their championship timeline, while Calgary positions themselves for sustained future success. It's the kind of mutually beneficial arrangement that makes the NHL trade market so captivating. Whether this specific trade materializes remains to be seen, but it represents exactly the type of bold thinking that separates good organizations from great ones. In a league where championship windows can open and close rapidly, perhaps the biggest risk is being too conservative when opportunity knocks. What do you think about this blockbuster proposal? Could Sharangovich be the missing piece that transforms Montreal into a legitimate cup contender, or would they be sacrificing too much future potential for immediate gratification? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear whether you think Hughes should pull the trigger on this deal or hold onto his assets for an even bigger splash down the road.